So, how can we better recognize when there is an evil spirit trying to harm us or come against us, or maybe just trying to control our lives or tormenting us? We're going to talk today about some various types of evil spirits, demons, unclean entities, and things like that mentioned in the Bible today, so that we can better recognize these when they're coming our way, and we can protect ourselves, and we can know, like, you know what, I think this is just a spirit trying to come against me, and I'm not going to let it control me. So let's start off with the head of all of them, the Satan, or the accuser, right? He's the leader of all the fallen angels. He's the one that fell, and he's the primary adversary of God and humanity. He's been given various titles that describe his role or nature. So obviously the first one is the adversary, the Satan. That's what it means. Satan is not a name, but it's a title meaning adversary. The next one is Lucifer, the morning star or day star, which is a reference in Isaiah 14:12, though can be debated sometimes. So yeah, and it was like the light bearer or whatever. Yeah, so that's kind of what that means. The devil, obviously, we've heard lots people say that many times, meaning the accuser or the slanderer in Matthew 4:1 and Revelation 12:9. Beelzebul or Beelzebub, you've heard that one, meaning Lord of the Flies or the Prince of Demons in Matthew 12:24 and Mark 3:22. The Prince of the Power of the Air, meaning that he's the ruler of evil spiritual forces in the unseen realm in Ephesians 2:2. So that means that he is orchestrating all the evil that's going on and taking place in the world, from all the evil spirits and things like that. Now, there's evil going on in the world that comes from man's heart, so it's not always a demon, it's not always an evil force, but it comes from the same guy, kind of, sort of. But like I said, there's evil and sin in our hearts too, because man is also evil. So the tempter, the one who tempts humanity into sin in Matthew 4:3. The evil one, a general term for Satan's opposition to God in 1 John 5:19. The dragon, a symbol of Satan's destructive power in Revelation 12:19. Apollyon, I guess, or Abaddon, meaning the destroyer, associated with the angel of the bottomless pit in Revelation 9:11. And of course, the adversary of God and humanity, like we said, he's the leader. And these references are in Job 1:6 and 7, Isaiah 14:12 through 15, and Revelation 12:19. So these are some of his titles. So he's obviously kind of like the top demonic force. He's like the leader of all these things going on. So another one that's mentioned by name, obviously we've probably heard this one, Legion, a collective name for multiple demons possessing a man, in references in Mark 5:9 and Luke 8:30. Another one, or they talk about the Lilith creature, mentioned in some translations as the night creature or the screech owl in Isaiah 34:14. So then we've got like some categories of evil spirits. The Bible talks about unclean spirits, where they often reference in the New Testament as entities that cause physical or spiritual affliction. So, maybe like a spirit of infirmity type thing going on. Examples in Mark 1:23 through 26, a man with an unclean spirit, or Mark 12:43, unclean spirits seeking rest. We've got familiar spirits, which you've probably heard of this, spirits associated with necromancy or divination. Examples in Leviticus 19:31, where it says, do not turn to mediums or familiar spirits. So this is like when somebody is channeling a spirit guide or like a dead relative or something, and they think that they're talking to the dead relative or a spirit guide of some kind or an ancestor, but they're actually talking to a demon. This is a familiar spirit. It's just posing as that person's family member or, whoever, ancestor, whatever it may be, or this supposed spirit guide, in order to deceive and trick that person so that it can wreak havoc in their life, or it can possess that person, or whatever it is that it's trying to do, or lead them away from God, whatever it may be, that whatever goal it has. Another example is in 1 Samuel 28:7 with the witch of Endor, summoning a spirit for Saul to try to summon up Samuel. It's kind of debated whether it really was Samuel or not, or whether it was like a demonic spirit. We don't really know for sure. That's kind of a debate. The jury's still out for me. I don't know. But that's another example of a familiar spirit. So we don't need to be doing these things. You're just going to bring problems onto yourself by doing this, and you're not really talking to a dead relative. Unfortunately, that's how evil these things are, is to play with people's emotions like that, making them think that they're talking to a loved one when they're really not. So the next category is where it talks about deceiving or deceptive spirits. So spirits that lead people away from truth, often linked to false teachings or like false prophecy. So 1 Timothy 4:1, some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits. Or 1 Kings 22:22-23, a lying spirit that was sent to deceive. So that's kind of what these things do. Evil spirits from the Lord. This is controversial, isn't it? I am going to make a separate video specifically explaining that and what that's about. But generally, it says it's for judgment or testing. So it's like God's allowing these things to come upon people or to come upon cities or whatever it may be, in order to judge that place or to give a test to that person. So yeah, spirits sent by God as a form of judgment most of the time. Examples, in 1 Samuel 16:14, an evil spirit was tormenting Saul. And then Judges 9:23, God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the citizens of Shechem. So you can read those verses for context to see exactly what that means. But we'll go into a little bit more of that into another video that's going to be coming up, because that's a really interesting topic. Specific roles and characteristics of evil spirits. So you've got the lying spirit sent to deceive prophets or leaders. 1 Kings 22:21-23. You've got the spirit of fear. This is a big one. A lot of people are dealing with this. Although not explicitly named as an evil spirit, but fear is sometimes seen as spiritually oppressive. So a spirit that's associated with timidity or cowardice. I would say, anxiety could be associated with that. If you have anxiety and stuff like that. So 2 Timothy 1:7 says God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind, right? So another one is a spirit of bondage associated with fear and captivity to sin. So that's another one. Romans 8:15. Spirit of heaviness. So this could be associated with despair or depression. A lot of people are dealing with this as well. The reference verse for that is Isaiah 61:3. Spirit of harlotry. Also rampant throughout our society. A spirit symbolizing unfaithfulness to God and moral corruption. This represents unfaithfulness to God, often linked to idolatry. Yeah, lots of that going on too. Moral corruption, idolatry, unfaithfulness to God, all of those things are happening in our society today. References Hosea 4:12 and Hosea 5:4, not 14, sorry, 5:4. The spirit of error, which leads people into false beliefs and deception. So that makes sense. That's kind of like a false teaching, false prophecy thing too, where people believe things that are not true about God and the Bible. The reference is 1 John 4:6. And then we kind of talked about the spirit of divination, a spirit that enables fortune telling and occult practices. Acts 16:16. We talked about the lying spirit sent to deceive prophets, in 1 Kings. Spirit of jealousy mentioned in context of suspicion and envy. So that's in Numbers 5:14-30. And a spirit of Antichrist, the one that opposes Christ and leads to false teaching in 1 John 4:3. Lots of that going on in society nowadays too. Same with the spirit of jealousy. There's a lot of envy, and I feel like that's part of a lot of the problems going on with where you see people who just, it's like materialism. They want more and more. They just have this spirit of envy. I need to have what they have. I need to do better. I need to have more. And that's kind of a lot in American society. Or they go and hurt people and steal people to get what they have because they want what they have and they don't have it. There's a lot of that going on with, these things going on in society where people think that other people owe them for what they don't have, and so on and so on. So yeah, all these kinds of teachings are a problem. Same with the Antichrist spirit opposing Christ. Anybody who, you see these people interviewing other people and they're like, oh, the Bible is false and Jesus is not God and he was just a person and da da da. That sounds like a spirit of Antichrist to me. So there's a lot of that going on in Islam. So that maybe that's who came and talked to Muhammad. Just saying. So, and then they talk about a category of demons that are fallen angels. So, often we're described as like the rebellious angels who serve Satan. In Matthew 8:28 through 34, where Jesus drove them into pigs, and Revelation 12:9, where the fallen angels are cast to earth. And then there's the category of the sons of God, or the Nephilim, where it talks about it in Genesis 6:1 through 4, that they were rebellious heavenly beings, sons of God, who fathered the Nephilim. And these entities, could also be linked to demonic spirits. There's a lot of people who believe their offspring, these spirit things are still on the earth doing things today. I don't know, maybe they are, maybe they're not, maybe there's other things, who knows, who really knows. I don't think we really know for sure. We can speculate, but there's no way to know for sure until we go to be with God and he tells us. So, and then apocalyptic and end time spirits. There was a spirit of frogs mentioned in Revelation 16:13 through 14, where it says unclean spirits performing signs associated with the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. And then there's a spirit of Antichrist that we talked about, which, it's not a single entity, but it's a spirit that denies Christ and promotes deception in 1 John 4:3 and 2 Thessalonians 2:7 through 10. So this gives you a little bit of, a little something to think about with maybe some of the things that you're dealing with or that you're going through. Maybe it's related to some of these spiritual entities. Maybe it's not. The things that we go through can be related to demonic oppression, or they can be related to natural processes, or they can be related to something we inherited, environmental factors, traumas, different things. But demons can also come in through those traumas. We don't know for sure. These are things that we have to kind of dig deep into within ourselves to kind of know. But, there was certain things that definitely stood out to me when I was kind of researching and going through this list, and I was like, yes, a spirit of fear. Something that just kind of comes and there's no rhyme or reason to it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can relate to that. So yeah, maybe this will help you. If you know what to look for, you can work on getting free from it. If you're like, I think I am being oppressed by one of these things, and it couldn't hurt to get prayer, to get released from any of these things. And if that's what's causing it, then, get rid of it, let it go. But if it's not, and you're still, having these issues, then it could be something else. Could be something medical, could be something environmental, could be something, like I said, that was inherited, whatever. Could just be a habit, could be the sin of man, could be a lot of things. So things to think about, but it's helpful when you're trying to figure out whether you're being oppressed by something or not. And if any of these things stand out to you, definitely see if you need some deliverance or if you need some help getting rid of these things, and definitely get some prayer. All right, so I hope this was helpful for everybody, and stick around for the next video. Like I said, that's going to be on why God would send an evil spirit.